Hi, this is Shyam Shankar from EkasCloud. In this video, I will explain about an AWS service called AWS Config. So what AWS Config is? So this is a service which is used for viewing and managing the configuration of your resources on AWS. So it is mainly used for viewing and managing of resources, which is like it can be EC2, it can be ELB, load balancer, it can be RDS, it can be anything. So this config service is used to manage those things and evaluates the configuration of the resource. For example, let us say we have a EC2 here. So I have EC2 here and I have enabled AWS config to this EC2. So let us say I am changing something like I am disabling the monitoring or I am changing the default configuration of this EC2. So this configuration changes is sent to AWS config. So this AWS config will evaluate the configuration and it can trigger the SNS topic so that it can send notification via email or SMS, or it can alert the CloudWatch also. So with the help of this config, if any changes occur in EC2, so if the resource, it can be anything, it can be EC2, it can be RDS, it can be load balancer, it can be anything. So whenever a change occur, when a EC2 is created or deleted or any configuration of this resource is modified, so this AWS config will have some rules. So with the help of these rules, the AWS config service will evaluate the configuration and it will trigger the SNS. It can trigger SNS or it can alert the CloudWatch alarm so that we can know whether the resource have changed or not. So the use cases are to get a snapshot of current configuration of the resource. So with the help of this config, we can get the snapshot of current configuration of the resources which we are using. The resources mentioned is can be EC2, RDS or ELB. So the second one which I have said before is receive a notification whenever a resource here means EC2, RDS or ELB, and it can be anything whenever it is created, deleted or modified. So these are the use cases for AWS config. And as I said before, in AWS config there will be many AWS config rules which are already defined by AWS. There are some AWS managed rules. So for example, I have taken Cloud Trial enabled. So this is the AWS managed rule. So this will check whether the Cloud Trial is enabled in AWS account or not. So this is the AWS managed rule. So if you go to the AWS official documentation, here you can see there are many AWS config rules. So this EC2 instance no public IP. Here you can see check if EC2 instance have a public IP association. So this with the help of this configuration rule, we can check if this has a public IP association, and if it is not followed, we can trigger SNS or we can alarm with the help of the CloudWatch. We can use CloudWatch to alarm. So there is something called there are many. So there is something called EC2 instance detailed monitoring enabled. So this will check whether if the detailed monitoring is enabled for EC2 instances. So with the help of this, we can manage the configuration of AWS resources and we can monitor them. So for compliance rules, we can monitor them with the help of this AWS config. So as I said before, this is a EC2 instance, and if any configuration changes happen in this EC2 instance, it will send it to AWS config, and this AWS config will have particular rules enabled. So this will check evaluates the configuration of EC2, and with the help of the rules, it will whether trigger the SNS topic like sending notification or something like that, or it can alert these CloudWatch events. So with the help of CloudWatch alarm also, we can alert the users with the help of AWS config. So that's it about AWS config. Thank you.